Hi, I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making a really fun, incredible cake that I am seeing trending, all right? And of course I want to be part of the trend. So here we are. It is a chocolate meringue swirl cake. So it's black and white. We have a basic chocolate cake. And then we have meringue we're going to swirl over the top. And I'm going to try to swirl it on the sides. So I'm living a little dangerously. So you'll have to stay with me and see how it comes out. Now, before I get started, I would like you to click that notification button. Hit it now so you can become a subscriber and you don't miss any of my great videos and tips, because I want all of you to follow me. I love seeing you. I love it. So this is how we're going to start this. We're going to take a 9-inch springform pan, okay? The type you make a cheesecake in. Now, I have put a cake circle inside. I've cut a cardboard cake circle to fit because I want it to come right out of the pan. And I know it looks a little funky, but what I did was I sprayed just the sides with nonstick cooking spray, put a little flour, a little tiny bit of all-purpose or even cake flour. We're using cake flour today, but you can use all-purpose. Put a few teaspoons in, give it a sort of a swirl around, dump out the excess, and set it aside. And that's all you have to do right now. Now, I'd like you to preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm so excited about this cake because it uses the creaming method of mixing. It has a meringue in it. It is like a bunch of everything. It's so much fun. All right, so first I'm going to get my dry ingredients together. 1 2/3 cup of cake flour. This is a little bit less protein in this cake flour, so it will create a more tender cake, and it's awesome. 1/2 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. And that's just the natural cocoa powder. It's not Dutch processed. It's just unsweetened cocoa powder. And then I'm going to take 1 tablespoon of baking powder. I'm going to put that in there. This is part of my dry ingredients. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay? And I'm going to whisk that up. We want all our dry ingredients to be whisked together. And sometimes the cocoa and the flour don't go along really well. They don't mix well. So you want to make sure that you really get those mixed in really, really well. Okay? If you have any lumps in anything, put it through a sieve. All right? But these little tiny little baby things will dissipate in the batter. All right, so that's our dry ingredients. We really also want to get our baking powder and salt homogeneously blended so nobody gets a taste of salt and the cake rises properly. This is one reason why a lot of people don't get great cakes because they don't get their dry ingredients and leavening agents mixed in. All right, so in my electric mixer, I'm going to take 1 stick, 8 tablespoons or 1/2 cup, same thing, of unsalted softened butter. I'm going to put it into my electric mixer. And I'm going to add 1 1/3 cups of granulated sugar. We're doing the creaming method of mixing here. All right. We're going to put on our paddle attachment. You would not use the whip attachment here, only the paddle. And you're having the sugar sort of be used as sandpaper. It's going to smash against the butter. We're going to put it on medium to medium-high speed and really get that butter softened. And we're going to add air to it. We're going to aerate it so it turns almost white. And that is adding the invisible ingredient into all baked goods, air, inside, because it's going to act as a team player, that air, with our baking powder. Just like a football team, right? All the ingredients together to get this incredibly light chocolate cake. So I'm putting the dry ingredients aside. In here I have 3 egg yolks. I am saving the whites for our meringue, but the 3 large egg yolks and 1 large egg. So 3 yolks, 1 large egg. And once we get this nice and light and fluffy, couple minutes, we are going to add 1 yolk at a time, and then we are going to begin to alternate dry and wet ingredients. So what's our wet ingredient? Buttermilk. Buttermilk. And buttermilk needs, it's an acid, and it needs to react with something. So it's going to react with the baking powder and the unsweetened cocoa powder, and it's going to create some leavening as well. So once we have this sort of light, I'm going to start adding my egg. So I'm just going to add a little bit at a time. Just add one of the yolks in, all right? Let that sort of meld together, blend together, and then once that's blended in, you can add more. But you want to do this slowly because you're building an emulsion, all right? Just add a little bit each time, even if you can't tell it's a whole yolk or not. No big deal. And I didn't even mix my yolks. You don't even have to. Just put them all into a pourable container, whether it's a fluid measuring cup, a liquid measuring cup, or like I have a little pitcher. Gonna add a little more. All right. Gonna keep that going. And then I'm gonna add the rest. All right, just get that in there. And now we're ready to alternate. Buttermilk, I have 1 cup of buttermilk, and our dry ingredients, right? So we always want to alternate dry, wet, ending with dry. So I'm going to add 1/3 on low speed. I'm going to add 1/3. I'll show you what this looks like, though. You can see how nice, see how fluffy that is? Nice and fluff. It's like a fluffernutter, and it's very yellow, yes? You're saying, Chef Gail, it's very yellow. It's yellow because it's got a lot of yolks, remember? We got a lot of yolks in here. So we're going to add about 1/3 of our dry ingredients. Give or take, you know, just eyeball it. You don't have to go nuts. It doesn't have to be perfect. But this is going to be a very chocolatey cake. Very chocolatey cake. So about 1/3 of the dry. And it will get a little dry, the batter, and then you're going to loosen it up with our buttermilk. All right, so that's about 1/3. And now I'm going to add 1/2 cup of buttermilk, or just half of it. Just put it in slow and easy, all right? And if you have to move it around a little bit, and sometimes you might want to use your rubber spatula to get it off the sides, and I'm going to do that very briefly. But you can see it's turning into a luscious chocolate batter. Yum, yum, yum. Like a chocolate buttermilk cake. So good. So good. All right. Get that off of there. All right. So we just added some buttermilk. Now we're going to add another 1/3 of our dry ingredients. All right, another 1/3. And now we add the remainder of our buttermilk. So I'm going to slowly add that. Remember, it gets thick after the dry ingredients are in, so go easy or you'll get sloshed on. You'll get sloshed on. And nobody wants to be sloshed on, all right? If you have to, you know, take the rubber spatula and go down the sides again, you can. And now we add the remainder of our dry ingredients, all right, on low speed, or you'll be wearing your batter. So do it on low speed. And this is the point where you don't want to overmix. If you overmix, you're going to develop gluten, and that's the protein, the proteins in the flour forming this matrix of protein known as gluten when they mix with a liquid, a water-based liquid. So once we have this glorious batter, and it is glorious, I'm going to show you what it looks like. We're going to add chocolate chips, a cup of chocolate chips. Oh, isn't that amazing? Isn't that just gorgeous? Oh, gorgeous. Hey, hold on. We had a little casualty here, no problems. No problems. We're going to put that on there. Yes, that is a beautiful batter. So once I clean this off, I'm going to move this over. All right. and I'm going to go around. Remember, these mixing bowls have a little boop in the bottom, like a little bump. So you want to make sure you get all the dry ingredients around without over mixing. Just go like around a few times. All right. All right. And now Chef Gail's going to gather the remainder. We don't want to waste anything. What would Julia Child do? She would do the same thing, right? Right, Julia? She would. 1 cup semi-sweet chocolate chips. Right in there, and I'm going to just sort of fold those in. And then we're going to set this aside because now it's time to make our meringue. And because I don't want anything with grease or butter near my meringue, I am going to wash my hands, which have a little butter on them. All right? So I'm going to move all this out of the way. I'm going to wash my hands so there's no grease. Any bowl with grease or any type of fat on it or moisture will not beat up. The egg whites won't beat up, so make sure you remember that. And if you don't have another bowl, you will take this bowl of batter, pour it into an extra big bowl, wipe this out, wash it out really well, and dry it thoroughly. But I happen to have 2. So what I did was I put the 3 large egg whites that we had extra, and I put them in here. They've been at room temperature because warmer egg whites beat up the best, okay? They beat up to their fullest volume. I'm using a different rubber spatula, and then I'm not even going to use my guard because I really do not want to get any fat in there from my guard. I'd have to wash that out again. You use the whip attachment. All right. There's a surface tension on eggs. And when that surface tension comes to room temperature, it breaks down, and it's much easier to get air beaten into those egg whites, okay? No joke. That's no yoke. Ha-ha. So we're going to put this on medium to high speed, high, like semi-high, medium high. We're going to let that get foamy. 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, all right? 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. We're not adding it all at once. We're going to add it a little bit at a time. So let me move this over. And when it gets to be really foamy and almost soft peaks, I'm going to start adding my sugar. I'm going to start building a meringue. And I don't want it to get dry, but I want stiff peaks. We want them like standing up straight and tall, like the snowiest mountain peak you've ever skied on, okay? So we have stiff peaks. Let me just show you. Stiff peaks, not stiff peaks now, but we have sort of soft peaks. You see that? All right, so that's good. It's bubbly and it's ready to go. So we're gonna start adding a little bit of sugar at a time. Usually you wanna add about a tablespoon at a time. Wait about 15, 30 seconds in between before you add another tablespoon. Sometimes I go a little faster, but watch. You don't want them to get too dry. You don't want the meringue to get dry. You don't want the egg whites to get dry. Dry by dry. What do I mean by dry? Like soap suds. Did you ever add too much soap to the washing machine and soap suds come out? And they're hard and they're dry. That's what it's like. Is no good. No good. So these are looking really nice. You're going to see less bubbles and more of the sugar going in between the protein, because remember, egg whites are pure albumin, pure protein. And you're going to see the sugar go in between and sort of hold it and get it a little more stable than if it didn't have any sugar in it at all. It's also going to look nice and soft. So I'm going up in speed. I'm almost at warp speed, but not quite. Going to add a little more sugar. It'll turn brighter white, and it will look glorious. And we're going to build the meringue around the outside of our pan. So exciting! I'm so excited. Okay? I hope you're excited. What you will want to get a large offset spatula or a large butter knife will do it, like a nice butter knife or a palette knife. So now I'm going to warp speed, Scotty. I'm going to add the rest of the sugar. We're in. All right. And it's beautiful. We're going to get our pan. Okay. Prepared pan. And now what I'm going to do is turn this off. Thank goodness it was getting so loud. And look, let's see what we got. Do we have firm peaks? Ooh, yes, we do have the firm peaks, yeah? I could climb that mountain peak. That looks good. All right, so we're going to get as much off of the beater as we can. All right, lovely. And now we're going to just give it a good go around again. Okay, good go around. I'm going to take about 2/3 of these with my offset, and I'm going to put them, because we need 1/3 of the meringue to go on top, because we're going to do a little black and white swirl. So we're not going to put any on the bottom. Don't put any on the bottom, and you're just going to go around the sides. Just go up around the sides, okay? Try not to touch where you floured. Just going to go around the sides, okay? It looks really weird, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful cake. It's a beautiful cake. And I did this cake circle inside here so it will come out a little bit easier, but it's a great way if you want to bring this to a friend's house. You don't have to say, hey, Mildred, you forgot to give me the bottom of my springform pan. No, she didn't, because you already gave her a cardboard cake circle. So Mildred has nothing of yours, and you can continue to make cheesecake or cakes whenever you want. Because you don't want to make an enemy of a friend because she forgot to give something back to you. You know, hosts have a lot to do. So I'm trying not to touch the floury portion of here. Okay, see what I'm doing? All right, we're done. And I still have some to put on top. All right, now, carefully, like a surgeon, give it a good go around here and just put this in the middle. This is your chocolate batter, just in the middle. Oh, wow. Oh, wow, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Inside. Oh. Okay, we're going to try not to disturb our meringue, but we do have to touch the meringue a little bit just to get the chocolate batter in there. Boom. Shazam. All right. And I'm just going to take my smaller offset and I'm just going to distribute it so you can see how it looks? And I'm just going to go next to the meringue and go around. If you touch it a little bit, it's okay. Remember, we're trying for swirls. This is the trend, folks. Be a part of this trend. You've got to be a part of this trend because it's an amazing trend. Who doesn't love chocolate cake? Who doesn't love meringue? Beautiful, all right? And you're just going to smooth it out so that it's level, all right? So that it's level. And it does take a long time to bake, so you're going to have to give yourself a little bit over an hour. I found it took probably, let's see, it actually takes about an hour and 30 minutes or so. So just give yourself time. Okay, you ready? We're going to take little bits and just sort of put, boom, shazam, just a little bit on top. You're just going to blob it every which way, okay? You don't want to cover the chocolate. We want to see the chocolate. And then you're just going to cut it in and swirl it. Just swirl it. And it doesn't matter what it looks like. Every pattern will be different. Every one of your cakes will be unique. It'll be one of a kind. All right? And that's what you want. But you do want to get a little bit of swirl in there. All right? It's got swag. All right? This is gorgeous. And now what I'm going to do, so I'm going to gently Just level it. Level it a little. All right. And then just sort of move it around. Get that meringue sort of in and around. All right. Okay, that's all. And now you're going to bake this. And we said, I'm looking at my recipe to make sure 325. All right, 325. And we want to make sure that it's fully baked. It's going to take a while, about an hour and 15 minutes, may take a little bit more. All right. And you're going to put it in, and I'll see you back. So my chocolate meringue swirl cake just came out of the oven. It is hot. Be careful. It's a big cake, so you may need to give it a little extra time. So don't get upset if it's not done in an hour and 15 minutes. Mine took about an hour and 30 minutes. Be careful because all oven temperatures are different. So depends on how long you bake it, and make sure that it's done. There's some carryover cooking, but it's gorgeous. I hope you make this beautiful meringue cake and follow the trend of the black and white meringue cake. And I'll be a subscriber, and I'll see you next time.